Hi. This is going to be a very, very different video from my usual stuff. I essentially put up a poll about a day ago where I asked you guys what you thought about me making a series of, I guess, sort of just rants. I'll call them rants, where I talk about different things within Space Station. And this is the first one, and as you can see by the title, this is the Blushield Operatives one, or Blushield Officer, as it's usually called. Here's the thing, I strongly feel that the Blushield Operative is a very bad role that does next to nothing for the game and only causes issues that wouldn't exist if it didn't exist. Like, okay, let's start out just to make sure everyone's on the same page here, and so you can understand my experience. My experience with Blushield Officer is mostly on Funky Station, although I have a fair bit of Starlight experience back when it was added before I left the server due to certain issues, which Starlight has problems, but I don't think they're enough for me to make a video on, and it can just keep doing its thing. Separate video on that if you guys requested on why I stopped playing on Starlight. But, you know, that's not the subject of today's video. Blushield Officer is essentially a officer whose entire job is to protect certain personnel on the station. Usually command, sometimes central command. For those of you who are unaware, because you probably play on like WizDead or something, some servers have nanotransit representatives, internal affairs agents, or magistrates. Personnel who are not station associated and instead connected directly to central command. And the Blushield Officer is typically, although some servers have it differently, where I don't really understand the point of it being different from, like, not being different, like being a different role from just security officer, if it's a part of security, but we'll get to that. And essentially, in most servers, the Blushield Officer is not a member of security. I'll go over interactions with security and how it just kind of ends up in a shit show a little later, but they are not sec. If they see a crime, they are supposed to ignore it. To not do anything about the person committing the crime, unless it's directly assaulting a command member, or depending on the server, a command area. Blushield officers are permitted usually to carry around some sort of specialty equipment, and they have better equipment than the security officers. There's usually only one Blushield officer, though. And to start out, I guess, let's talk about the problems with who they're supposed to protect. Now, most of the basic heads of staff, the chief medical officer, the quartermaster, the research director, maybe even the head of personnel, but especially the chief engineer, are fine. I have no issues with a specialty role being assigned to them, besides role bloat, which I'll go over later. But the head of security, the captain, and the nanotransit representatives, as well as central command staff in general, I do have issues with. Let's start with the captain. The captain's what I feel is a little obvious. The captain, while obviously a very high value target, already has the best armor in the game that, like, the crew are allowed to get on his chest. Like, the captain's chest plate, the captain's sword, and the captain's laser pistol are all already incredible weapons. And, like, hell, antagonists go for the captain because his weapons are just really good. Like, you'll see nuclear operatives, like, putting away their current weapons to use captain's self-recharging pistol, because it's just really, really good. And I feel like the captain being completely untouchable and completely invincible is a really, really bad thing. Because, again, the captain already can protect himself. The captain is really, really strong. Like, as a combatant, most, like, people can't combat the captain directly. The nanotransit representative, I think, also has issues, as well as just central command staff in general, but most servers that have an NTR don't have the others, so I'll talk about the NTR as if they encompass all central command staff, but just They're basically the same thing. It doesn't matter. The problem I have here is the nanotransit representative is a role that often isn't played because it's a role that people who are only into a specific niche kind of thing enjoy. Like, I somewhat enjoy nanotransit representative. I like giving out tickets and enforcing SOP, but a lot of players do not enjoy that kind of gameplay, so there will often be rounds where, despite that role being not that high of a time requirement, often it's just not played because people don't enjoy that kind of gameplay. And that's fair. People can enjoy whatever kind of gameplay they like. If they want, chaos, they can go on Goop Station. If they want really high roleplay, they can play on, high roleplay servers. If they fucking, hate interacting with people, they can play on Frontier. That's a joke. Don't worry about it. But the problem I have is, well, if the BSO is beholden only to Central Command staff, and there isn't Central Command staff, then what's the point? And also, the nanotransit representative isn't, a target. For reference, I can understand someone wanting to protect the captain, the chief engineer. Special, command roles that all serve a very direct purpose in the station's functioning. But the NTR doesn't. Obviously, he's a Central Command agent, and, people should want to protect Central Command agent, like CC would want to protect their staff, but I'm talking just raw gameplay-wise, why would anyone give a shit about keeping the NTR alive? In an emergency situation, why would anyone want to be protecting the paperwork guy? But I think the command member with the biggest issues is the head of security, and honestly, I'm shocked that more people that play Blushield Officer don't just follow the Hoss around. Think about it. The captain is obviously a prime target, but most captains just spend all shift sitting on the bridge. Because that's usually their gameplay. If they don't get out enough, they can just sit at bridge and command from there. The Hoss, though, the Hoss is chasing antagonists around, and they're supposed to die pretty much immediately. The Hoss is the most likely command member to die because they're actively fighting the antagonists. And I think this is a good way to get into antag interactions because the way the BSO on a meta and roleplay level, they both interact weirdly. Okay, syndicates, the BSO really doesn't have much of an excuse to interact with them unless they interact directly with that command member or whoever they're protecting. We're just going to call it command members from here on out because, well, it's usually not typical that they protect CC members, and it works better for the examples. So we're just going to call them command members from here on out. So, let's say you're a Blushield officer, you see a traitor attacking your command member. Obviously, you go for them. But here's the thing, and this is the problem I have with it, is I have expectations versus reality put in as the final talking point, but I think it's good to move it here. See, what you expect a player to do as a designer of any game is quite obvious. Okay, let's take Doom, just classic basic Doom. You would obviously expect players to, run around, shoot demons, gather keys, leave the level. But players can also just spend the whole level punching things if they want. They can also spend the whole level doing fucking whatever. They don't have to play by your rules, and as a game designer, you need to be aware of that. Again, very basic shit, I know. Most people are like, yeah, no shit, obviously. But you need to understand that players will try to break whatever you come up with, and in SS14, in a role-playing environment, this gets broken all the time. And the expectation that a person has, yeah, it's the Blushield officer, he's going to do some epic roleplay where he acts like a bodyguard, stay back from the captain, you're not authorized to get close to that guy. Really just turns into pretty much every Blushield officer just deciding, hey, I have an excuse to go for this antagonist because they, smacked the Hoss at some point. Which, yes, it's an admin issue, because I know already people are going to type in the comments, that's an admin issue, but I have never seen it as bad as with the BSO. Like, okay, for reference, right? Like, let's say a command member starts valid hunting. Obviously an issue, but in character, you know, outside of any meta problems or whatever, if the person that the command member's hunting fights back, then they're dead a command member. Because the command members, again, unless they're, you know, breaking server rules, typically shouldn't have really powerful equipment. Like, obviously, the chief medical officer can just equip, you know, sedatives and poison or whatever to deal with whatever antagonist comes their way, but that's not really conducive to a role-playing environment. And obviously, the chief engineer can carry around, you know, plasma. So can research directors. Like, for reference, like minor anecdote, but I found out that a guy that, was complaining about my videos. Turns out he was going around with cans of plasma on him as a research director in case an antagonist attacked him. And I think that's a good example of the kind of player that will naturally gravitate towards BSO, because as a BSO, you are not security, so you get to completely avoid the security restrictions placed upon, like, dealing with antagonists, like following the law, not lethaling them, and listening to your head of security, and you get a really powerful gun that gets to go way past the rules of fully arming, like bringing the guns out of the armory and starting to shoot whoever with them. And that's the kind of player that will be gravitated towards BSO, because, again, they'll be going into mates, they'll be hunting the fucking antagonist that attacked command member because that's what you want, because that's what they want to do. Again, admin issue, but it's only BSO I've seen this with. I have never seen, like, a magistrate go out of the way to do this. I've seen captains go out of their way to do this, but then the captain just dies. And the BSO might die, yeah, but the BSO has spacesuits. They have really powerful things. Sorry, that's not a very good point. Let me think about this a little more. Okay, so if the BSO valid hunts, they are effectively just a better security officer. Like, just straight up. And obviously, you know, again, admin issue. But at a certain time, and as I said this before, and I think I'll stop this section of the rant here, but basically okay, how do I put this? If there's an issue, right? You have like 10 dogs. You have one dog that pisses on your shoes once. You smack the dog, you tell him not to, you know, stop pissing on my shoes. It doesn't piss on your shoes. But if there's a dog that pisses on your shoes 10 times, at this point, you're weird for even allowing the dog to get anywhere near your shoes, because they're just going to piss on it. And with Blushield Officer, that's what's happening. I see more often than not, Blushield officers going out of their way to find excuses to arrest and, you know, deal with antagonists because they have an excuse to. And, okay. Let's go back to the antagonist sections of this, because, again, this is a rant. I have talking points. Gonna be a little sporadic. I just want to get these thoughts out there and just, you know, create a discussion, because I think this is a really interesting discussion to have. So, let's go through the antagonists. Traitors, we've already established. No real reason to go for them. Thieves, the exact same, unless there's interaction with a command member they're protecting, blah, blah, blah. From here, though, it's pretty much just fucked. Nukies are completely understandable. Of course the Blushield officer would want to deal with a nuclear operative that's, you know, killing everyone and trying to kill literally everyone at the station. Everyone includes command, blah, blah, blah. Duh. Revs, okay, I can understand that. The problem here, though, is that the revolutionaries, well, usually have to base and are outgunned by security, so they have to work together, you know, stealthily, all that shit. Once the revs are overt, the Blushield officer will 90% of the time just fucking hunt them. With the excuse of, oh, they're going to be a problem for fucking the command members anyway. They're going to target the command members. Of course they're going to go for them. And while that is fair, that is a good reason, at that point, why are you not just playing security? Which, I'll get into how this interacts with Sec in a moment, but why aren't you playing security? Anyway, Heretic. Heretic, for reference, has to sacrifice a command member. Well, it's obviously meta, and again, admin issue, for a Blushield officer to treat a Heretic differently from just a normal crew member. They have a metagaming reason to do so. So, hunt the Heretic. Heretics also turn into station-ending threats. Hunt the Heretic. You know? And again, they're not a member of security. So, they have a justification to hunt an antagonist 90% of the time without being restricted by the chains that hold back security officers. They're just security plus at that point. Then what's the point of having them? If they're just security plus, why are we having them on board? I don't understand. Right. Blob, pretty much the same. Again, station-ending threat. The cults, also, again, station-ending threat. They also probably need to sacrifice that stuff. Blah, blah, blah. Dragons, you know, dragons as well, station-ending threats. Yeah, no, like, most of these are station-ending threats. Even Ninja, like, Ninja is very likely to interact with the research director and kill the research director. So, hunt the Ninja. And at a certain point, you're seeing... And at a certain point, you kind of see where I'm going with this. Because what is the point of a Blushield officer if they're just a better member of security? Like, I'm genuinely asking. What is the point of a Blushield officer? Because with the way antagonist interactions work, and the way the antagonists work, which security has to be designed around, by the way. The antagonists and security, like, okay, let's take, I don't know, Team Fortress 2, for example. Let's say you give the defending red team really good high ground to defend against the invading blue team. Well, how do you counteract that with map design on the blue side? Well, you give them a way to the high ground. You give them a way to avoid the high ground and complete the objective without dealing with red team being on the high ground, so red team has to spread out more. You do something. With the Blushield officer, it's like you just have a guy with a nuke just ready whenever. Because it's like you give, like, the defending red team a massive buff of a really good high ground that's impossible to push through a chokehold when blue has nothing. You give blue nothing, and then blue just loses every time. The antagonists are unable to do anything every time. Because again, if security is too strong, the antagonists aren't able to do anything. And that's not fun for anyone. For security or for the antags. Unless you're one of those weird security players that power trips, but go fuck off, play a different game. And then there's, you know, if the antagonists are too strong. Like, for reference, Funky Station had to go through about 2 weeks of nuclear operatives being the worst fucking game mode. And personally, in my opinion, I think nuclear operatives is still just a shit game mode, but that's again my opinion. But nuclear operatives was genuinely hated and asked to be like turned off or emergency hotfixed because there was a weapon that made it completely impossible for the crew to fight back. And that's not fun. That's not fun for anyone. I mean, it might have been fun for the Nukies because they get the power trip, but I don't think that the fun a nuclear operative team or a Blushield officer should have, completely dominating everyone with their overpowered bullshit and complete lack of having to do anything else, should impact the fun of everyone. I'm getting into Dookies here. Anyway, the interactions with Sec are 90%, hey, there's an antagonist, they are, by existence, fucking with command members, because that's what antagonists do. They fuck with everyone. Command members are a target. Blushield, you know, fucking goes to the antagonist, because the best defense is offense. Once you realize there's an antagonist fucking with your command members, just go for them. That's the correct play. And I think that's part of the problem. Because there shouldn't be a correct play. Like, for reference, minor anecdote, minor tangent here, but there's a discussion in Funky Station's Discord a while back about adding station objectives, which are things the crew needs to complete to, green text. Good, in theory, good idea. But here's the problem. I feel like if they add station objectives, that adds a default correct way to do something. Like, part of the reason I enjoy medical as my favorite department is there's a lot of different ways to approach someone's, injuries. Like, they're poisoned, I could use chems, I could do a liver replacement. Guide to medical is still coming, by the way. It's just, I'm spending way too long editing it because I'm trying to make it, like, good. Like, proper, like, good. And, I could, use cryo, I could use a whole bunch of different things. Like, security, there's no one way to deal with an antagonist. Like, there's, like, a revolution taking place. You could go loud and try and use brute force to deal with them. You could, keep it on the down low that and try to gather intel about who the heads might be, There's a million different ways to approach every problem, and there's no correct way. Even playing antagonist, there's no correct way to play antagonist. Like, part of the reason why the hard light bow, which was the most overpowered item in nuclear operatives, I think, history, honestly, like, for reference, if you know what the China Lake is and why it's been removed from a bunch of different servers because it's just way too good, the hard light bow was better than the China Lake and costed less and had infinite ammo. So, that's what the hard light bow is. But essentially, station objectives, the hard light bow, all of this, like, they add a objectively correct play. And for BSO, if there's an antagonist, to get them to stop trying to kill your command members, the correct play is to always go for the antagonist. Go offensively. Go find the antagonist, deal with them. Hand them out to sec. And that sucks. Obviously, there's, a correct way to play security of just arrest all the antagonists, deal with them yourself, blah, blah, blah. But sec is restricted from how they can interact with the antagonists. Because that's more fun. Like most servers, and you can't just, like most servers, I'm pretty sure every server actually, has a space loss. You can't just break an antagonist for doing something antagonistic. Although there's still some loser players who will go out of their way to, oh, you broke into you bombed into caps? Alright, let me tack on like 5 different fucking crimes to, and auto max sentence you, because fuck you. And those people are losers, obviously, Like, I don't think I need to say that. Like, I don't think it's a controversial opinion that, like, a security officer going out of their way to perma you for basically no crimes is a loser, but, Anyway, security is restricted for a reason. Like, here, one moment. I'm gonna just go to, like, just the funky station, because why the hell not? Wiki, and just look at their space law real quick. Like, Funky Station, wiki, here we go. Like, the Funky Station entire, like, point of space law is to result in people being able to have fun. Because the point of antagonist is to make the round more interesting, right? Like, you can just fucking go, Like, you can just fucking go in and do antagonistic stuff, and if you get caught, oh well, you're able to go have another, thing in it. Like, this is, like, a little, whatever, but, like, even, like, actively, like, murdering a command member is typically not a perma-break crime. Because that's not interesting. Like, in real life, yeah, sure. You'd probably get perma-breaked. You'd probably get, like, immediately jailed if you killed someone. Because that's, how real life works. But this is a role-playing game, and it's far more interesting if a person doing antagonistic shit as an antag is allowed to keep doing it. Because it's, again, more interesting. You get to do more stuff. And Blushield Officer is the least interesting thing because it, like, the Blushield Officer shuts down a bunch of antagonists without really adding much to the game. And I think that's, like, the crux of the entire problem. And this is where I want to get into role bloat. What is the point? Because I feel like adding an additional role should be a lot more of a, why does this need to exist, instead of just a, oh yeah, sure, have whatever. Like, spoilers for the potential Starlight video, but part of the reason I left Starlight is they just started adding roles for fucking everything. Like, here, let me go to the Starlight wiki real quick. Like, Starlight just started adding, like, a bunch of random jobs that don't need to exist. And I strongly feel like they don't need to be added. Like, for reference, right? Like, Brig Medic is a role that I really feel should not exist. Like, Brig Medic is a medic who's also a security officer. Why does that need to exist? Like, what does that add to the game besides just, oh, hey, here's a way for SEC to be better? Like, why does surgeon as a role need to exist? Why can't a, random medical doctor just do that? Why does that need to exist? Why does the roboticist need to exist? Because roboticist is a role that I feel like doesn't need to exist. Why can't a scientist just do that? Like, for example, like, atmospheric technician is a role that needs to exist. Why? Because atmospherics is a very high-risk area. It would make sense for people in, for people in a, game setting like this, in a character setting as well, to restrict the vents that could kill literally everyone by spreading hot gas through it into a confined area with higher security. That makes sense. I agree with that. I understand why detective needs to exist. There needs to be a security officer who is trained to using specialty tools to find things out. Same with the warden. Like, someone needs to mind the brig and be the guy that sits in there and make sure no one breaks into armory and handle all the prisoners. Like, even magistrate, there needs to be a person who is the end-all be-all of space law. You need to be an end role for it. And like all of the service jobs, like clown needs to exist. Because clown's funny. It's a cultural thing. Librarian is a role that I think perfectly encapsulates the part 2 of this entire, like, why does BSO need to exist argument. BSO hurts. Like, BSO affects things by their existence. Like, the BSO, the Blushield officer, in their existence, will actively impact antagonists by their actions. So the standard of why they need to exist is much higher. And the same reason I feel like roboticist and surgeon doesn't need to exist. They are actively taking away content from a different role and putting it into a different role and basically sectioning it out from a different person. Sorry, let me phrase that better. Surgeon and roboticist take away content from a different role, and I feel like the justification for their existence is not strong enough. Librarian doesn't do anything. Like, librarian is a role-play only role. Same with service worker. Service worker doesn't do anything. The service workers don't do anything. They don't take away from another role. And their goal is to basically just be a better assistant. It's a learner role or something. I don't know. Service worker? Sure, why not? Zookeeper. Zookeeper is a role that has a specific purpose. Does the purpose need to exist? No. Do they impact a different role by existing? Maybe you could argue security, but you'd be hard-pressed to argue that, so no. Reporter, same thing. Boxer, same thing. The Blushield officer, though, because they're a combat role, with the authorization to directly go for a combat thing, and they have a trigger to start a fight with someone. Because most people, or most jobs on board, don't have to be, how do I put this? Okay, different thing. Blue Shield officers are considered command roles. As in, you need to A help if you leave the server by pretty much every server they're on. Because that's their whole point. You know? And to close this, because again, this is a bit of a rant, and I think that last section honestly probably didn't need to exist, but it's a rant. That's the whole point of it. It's supposed to be a little free form, just say whatever, blah blah blah. I think there's a lot of expectations for BSOs to be better, and I'm not seeing it, like, at all. And you make like scream admin issue, admin issue. Admins can't be asked to fix terrible game design. Like, that's why I think revolutionaries should just be flat out removed. I don't think it's fixable by just saying stop metagaming. I think server rules 100% could be better across several different servers. But I also do strongly feel that there isn't much contribution BSO does to a round for the amount of offload they do onto the admin team. Because again, the administration team has a lot of work to do, but I feel like a lot of people don't understand just how much work goes into adminning. And like interpreting the rules and making the rules, making sure they all work and blah, 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 blah. Again, adminning's not easy. And frankly, it's hell. It's hell to be fucking an admin, you know? It's not good. Very much not good. And for the final point here, like, for like the expectation thing is like, how do I put this? Is there a job a Blue Shield officer does that a security officer couldn't do? Because if you remove Blue Shield officer and you just said to a security officer, hey, go cover this command member. As a head of security, if you just said to a security officer, go cover this hoss, like go cover the hoss, go cover the CMO, go cover RD, go cover CAP. That would make sense. That would be interesting. That would be cool. That would be better. Then what the fuck is the point of BSO? Like, again, why? Why do you exist? Anyway, yeah, a bit of a rant. Let me know how you feel about this video. Again, not very, very different from my usual video style. And I do feel like this could, probably have improved a fair bit. But I'd like to thank my channel members. And I mentioned boy, User Faith, this, Loltart, Flabbergaster, Some Kitty Cat, or Starpoint 123, Members Murder, Philbin Chimera, Aubrey Obvious, and Mural Obvious, and Sathier Lapin. You too can support the show, blah, blah, blah. You know how this works. Yeah, let me know if you would like to see this video type more often. If you hated it, if you think this video was shit, let me know. I'm looking for feedback. I just want to make, more types of videos, and I'd love to do this more with, meta shields and other things. Anyway, bye.